so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Yes, I am so blessed. Each of us, living and breathing, each of us are blessed. And so as I take a breath, I acknowledge the presence of Spirit right here with us. By whatever name you call it, I call it God. This one presence, this one love, this one life, this one mind in which each of us lives and moves and finds our being. This beautiful presence of the one is within me. It is within each one of us. It is expressing itself through me, through and as each one of us. And so on this beautiful day, this last day of June, I am grateful to be standing here before you. I'm grateful for this blessed community. I'm grateful for the Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. I'm grateful for the presence of the One right here in this space. And as I experience it through the presence of each person here and each person who is joining us on Zoom, whether you are in the area or thousands of miles away in other countries, whether you're watching this right now live on Zoom or whether you're watching a recording, you are included in the circle of this prayer. And so I breathe and I say thank you to Spirit, to the One, for this day, for this moment. I'm grateful for life and health and strength. I'm grateful for this beautiful, beloved community and for all of those of us who hold this together, because the Center for Spiritual Living is not a building, it is each one of us. And so I bless us. I bless this day. I bless this beautiful Sunday celebration with so much joy and so much gratitude. I release this word into the perfect law, knowing that my word is the law whereunto it is spoken. And all is well. Please join with me by saying, and so is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Thank you, Evelyn and Clive. It is now time to read for the last time. I don't know how we got to the end of June so fast, but sure as heck, we're there. And for the last time, our June affirmation, it's in your program. I apologize, I did not put it in the chat online, but please close your eyes, listen, and join in. I live in the faith that there is a presence and power greater than I am that nurtures and supports me in ways I could not even imagine. I know that this presence is all-knowing and all-power and is always right where I am. My life is infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. It is the invisible essence of substance in every visible form, and so it is. Now, normally at this point, we would have our community greeting, but you folks went ahead and did that the first 5 minutes we were here anyway, so, you've all been greeted and welcomed each other, so thank you for doing that. But it is time for our peace practice. And every week, we say this, and every week it's needed. And my prayer is that someday we can say it not because it's needed, just for the joy of saying it. But it is so important right now, with the way things are, that we really, really do get it. So please, as we know, peace starts in here with each one of us, and then it goes out. And it radiates. And that's what this peace practice is all about. So please repeat after me. I am the peace I wish to see. I know this peace for my family. My family knows this peace for my community. And my community knows this peace for the world. And now for our reading, I welcome back up Reverend Evelyn.
All right, so I'm going to be reading from page 399 in the Science of Mind. If one were to make a complete mental picture of himself as he would like to be, filling in all the details of his desire and trying to accept the whole thing as a present reality, he would soon demonstrate that control of affairs is from within and not from without. The cause being that whatever exists as a mental picture in mind must tend to, and finally does, take form if the picture is really believed in and embodied. We should be careful to distinguish daydreaming and wistful wishing from really dynamic and creative treatment. When we treat, we do not wish, we know. We do not dream, we state. We do not hope, we accept. We do not pray, we announce. We do not expect something is going to happen. We believe that it has already happened. We should think clearly and allow the image of our thoughts to sink into a subjective state. We do not crowd them down. We let them sink into this inner receptivity with power and conviction. Our individual subjective mind is our place in the universal creative law and immediately connects us with limitless power and energy. There is a vast difference between holding thoughts and holding things in thought. One is the attempt at an impossible coercion. The other is a mental acceptance. To hold thoughts as though we were forcing issues does no good and utilizes but a fraction of the creative power at our disposal. To hold in thought as though we were letting something happen is to use the greater power, the greatest power of all.
All right, and now it's time for that moment you've all been waiting for. If you don't know who Reverend Dr. Patrick Harbula is, I'm really surprised, because everybody knows Patrick. Everybody loves Patrick. He's all over the place, right? He's wonderful. He's been here with us a number of times, and for those of you who don't, let me tell you a little bit about Patrick. Reverend Dr. Patrick Harbula has been a spiritual leader, counselor, and coach for over 35 years and reaches hundreds of thousands with his writing and personal and media appearances. Patrick is the author of The Magic of the Soul, Applying Spiritual Power to Daily Living, which is CSL Curriculum Journey of the Soul, and recently released a book by St. Martin's Press, Meditation, The Simple and Practical Ways. He is founder of the Living Purpose Institute and creator of the Life Coaching Certification Program and the Primal Fire Intensive on Catalina Island. He was ordained as an independent religious science minister by the late Dr. Earl Barnum in 1985 and affiliated with CSL in 2010. He trained for 4 years in spiritual psychology under the late Dr. Vivian King. He is also ordained and recognized as a Doctor of Divinity through Spiritual Unity Movement, of which he was the president for 12 years. He founded Meditation Magazine. He was formerly a director for Sage Publications and a world-renowned social science publisher. Patrick will be available after the service to sign his books, speaking. He also speaks on radical gratitude and entrance into the sacred. With all that, I don't know he had found time to get here, but please welcome Patrick Harbula.
That is so much fun. How about it for this guy? Who needs a band when you got this guy? It's so great to be back. 2018 was the last time I was here, way before COVID. So happy to be back, and so happy to see where'd my brother Neil go? This guy right here. Give him some love. All right, so I think I sent the wrong title anyway. So the title of what I'm talking about today is Non-Attachment, the ultimate secret to manifestation and inner peace. And normally I have slides, and we don't have slides here, so Neil went ahead, without my knowledge even, of
printing these out. So if you want to follow along, you can. Realize that there's a slide on the front and then on the back. So you can follow along or not. You'll get the information either way. So I think I'm going to start out with a little story. Usually I save this story. Oh, well, I guess I'll do the first slide first. The Buddha, Gautama Buddha, we're talking about non-attachment. By the way, there was a guy who talked about non-attachment a few years ago named Gautama Buddha. He said, non-attachment, what did he say? Let's see. Non-attachment is the philosophy of my life. So, here's a story. I was usually save this for the play shop, but I decided we're going to do it right now, so everyone gets it. So there's three guys out for a nice game of golf on a Sunday afternoon. And the first guy comes out, and he's like taking his golf game really seriously. He's been studying and working on it and concentrating. And so he steps up, and by the way, you've probably heard of this guy. His name is Moses. So Moses steps up to the tee, and he's taking some very, very measured, careful practice swings. Finally, he lets the ball go. It's flying out there over the fairway. It's going to bounce into this trap, though, this big lake. And so Moses steps out. He raises up his hand. The waters part. The ball rolls through right onto the green about 20 feet from the cup. Next guy steps up. Probably heard of this guy too. His name is Jesus. Jesus is also taking his game quite seriously. He's a little better golfer than Moses, but he steps up, he's concentrating, he's really focused, he lets it go. It's going out even farther than Moses' ball, but it's going to land right in that lake. So Jesus steps out, he raises up his club, and the ball stops about 6 inches from the surface and just hovers there. And so Jesus just casually walks out upon the water and taps the ball onto the green, about 10 feet from the cup. Next guy steps up, and this guy he's the opposite of the first two. He's like not concentrating, he's just having a ball, he's laughing and joking, and he steps up and he just takes his one-handed, doesn't take any practice swings, his one-handed swipe, slices the ball way off to the side, it bounces off the roof of this caddy shack onto the freeway, and it's ricocheting between cars back and forth. It hits the semi and comes back over the fence, onto the Caddyshack roof. It rolls down to the drain pipe or drain gutter, down the drain gutter, the drain pipe, down the drain pipe onto the fairway. It's moving. It's headed for that same lake. It bounces off of a rock, lands on a lily pad. A frog grabs the ball in its mouth. Just then, an eagle swoops down, snatches up the frog. The frog screams out of fright. The ball drops straight down into the cup. Moses turns to Jesus and says, "God, I hate playing with your dad." So the moral of the story is whoever shows up with the most non-attachment, the most joy, the most fun, always gets the best result. And that's what our play shop's going to be about later on, the joy factor, a life of infinite freedom. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's see. I want to do this slide from Thich Nhat Hanh. It says, letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. So, our degree of non-attachment is proportionate to our natural ability to focus consistently on what we want, our intention. Because if we're attached to anything, then Neil said, Patrick's all over the place. That's what happens. We're all over the place when we're attached. We are centered and focused when we're not attached. So the next slide is me. And this is how I say it in The Magic of the Soul. The most powerful consciousness for manifestation is having a clear intention about what we want, speaking that intention into the universe, into the law, even demanding it if we want to be that powerful about it, and at the same time, not attached to how, when, or if it even manifests. The phrasing that came to me several years ago that comes out of this, the affirmation is, wouldn't it be fun if that is my most powerful affirmation, because it creates the intention, an image of what I want, and yet there's also no attachment, because it's going to be fun no matter what, right? I used this affirmation when I was doing a tour in Canada. I went to 3 different centers, and each time I said, wouldn't it be fun if 35 people showed up for the workshop in the afternoon? And guess how many people showed up all 3 of those times? Exactly 35 people. In fact, in Calgary, they were counting as people came in the door. And when it got to 35, everybody clapped, and then no one else came. So I stopped doing that because I didn't want to limit to 35 anymore. Right? And how this evolved for me, when I was writing The Magic of the Soul, originally it was going to be a book about the magic of the soul, how to manifest what you want. And a funny thing happened on the way to the magic of the soul. Everything in my life had fallen apart. My corporate job, I became chronically ill. My corporate job went away. My marriage of 13 years ended. It felt like everything that I was identified with on a personal or egoic level was stripped away. And so that changed, and I stopped writing for a while because it seemed like nothing magical about this experience. But oh, was I wrong about that. That was the magic. So the whole message of the book then shifted and evolved into, yes, it's magical to create what we want, but it's even more magical to appreciate, accept, embrace what we have. And not only those things that we obviously bring us happiness, but especially those things that challenge us the most. And that's how this path of non-attachment began to evolve for me. So I'll give you a little bit more information. Well, and I'll tell you one more story. So later on, after I healed from that illness, after about 5 years, another 15 years later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And when I got off the phone with the doctor, and when I went up in for the biopsy, I was not 99%, I was 100% sure there was no cancer in my body. And yet the doctor said, there is. And when I hung up the phone, because of this practice for many years, my instant thought was, something good will come from this. Something good. And I could give you a whole long list of good things, of amazing transformations that came from this. And we've all got these stories. We all know people, or we've experienced ourselves, that the most challenging times in our lives have brought the most growth, right? And so we can see in retrospect then how what challenges us is actually always for us. And I did a workshop on Thursday over in Morristown, and I did this little exercise about non-attachment. And it comes from the magic of the soul. And at the end of it, we asked people, well, how do you feel having gone through this exercise? What would it be like to be less attached around these challenges in your life? Because, as spiritual beings, we can always look back and see, in retrospect, what the magic was. That's the phrasing in the book, is look for the magic in every experience. But what happens when something we really don't like happens? We resist it, right? So at the end of the exercise, one person said, oh, I feel more peace. Another person said, who was having some physical challenges, said, I'd have less stress, and therefore my immune system would be stronger, right? The interesting thing is, what I say all week long in my classes, in my workshops, in my one-on-one coaching is, whatever we resist not only persists, but magnifies, becomes even stronger. Whatever we embrace becomes our ally, our teacher, and our healer. Someone else said, I'd be free if I gave up this resistance. So I wasn't planning on this, but I'm going to give you a very shortened version of that exercise. So close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Think about a person in your life with whom you have conflict. I can see that you're instantly coming up with that person. And think of it this way. What would it be like if you gave up your resistance to this person? if you accepted this person completely and unconditionally, it doesn't mean that you still might want to create healthy boundaries, but you create those healthy boundaries without the desire to change them. You accept them completely. Give up the resistance. How does that feel in your heart, in your body, in your mind? Take a deep breath into that. Think about a situation now in your life where there is resistance. Maybe it's finance, maybe it's health, maybe it's another person, maybe it's a group. And what would it be like if you gave up your resistance to this situation? Doesn't mean you don't want to take action, you still can take action to improve things. But rather than having the resistance, which always leads to worry, you're in trust. Giving up your resistance, trusting, embracing, accepting, bringing love to it rather than resistance. Because you know that love heals everything. When we're in resistance, guess what? It pushes back. What would it be like? How does that feel? In your heart, in your body, in your mind. Take a deep breath into that. Think about something in yourself that you don't like, that you have resistance to. What's the thing you like the least about yourself? What would it be like if you dropped the resistance? If you accepted yourself and this aspect of self unconditionally, with unconditional love. Drop the resistance, let it go. Oh, I can feel the energy in the room around this one, right? Unconditional love and acceptance. Take a deep breath. Beautiful. All right, bring your awareness back when you're ready. If we were doing the workshop, I'd ask you all to share, but if you come to the play shop, you can share then your experience. So, but I can tell from the energy of the room that was meaningful, yes? Yes. All right. So that's what it's about. So here's what happens. On the next, I think it's the next slide, we have this frazzled picture here of this guy. And this is a picture of someone who is attached and has worry to all these different situations, to finance, to time, to what's going on in the world, the wars, whatever it might be. And what you can see from this slide is that two things are happening here. One is, you can see that in these, these squiggly lines, these jagged lines that are going through each one of these worries, that number one, he's actually putting energy into what he doesn't want, right? Because if I'm worrying about something, if I'm attached to it, if those two things are synonymous, then I'm actually holding those situations in place with my consciousness, right? And that's what we as humans tend to do. When something's challenging us, is we tend to be in problem mode. But we can never solve the problem from the level of the problem. We can only solve it from a higher level of consciousness, a level of peace, a level of faith, a level of trust. So on the next slide, if you turn it over, this is what happens when you're non-attached. Oh no, actually that's a picture of me hanging out at Venice Boardwalk in California where we live. But the next slide is a picture of I actually am pretty non-attached when hanging out in Venice Beach. But the next slide is a picture of someone who is non-attached. And you can see the aura. So the other thing that happens is when we're giving our power away through worry, is we don't have power to create what we want. When we are non-attached and our energy is present, then we simply say, wouldn't it be fun if, or any affirmation, and what we want tends to come easily and effortlessly, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Byron Katie on the next slide says, I don't argue with reality because I'm a spiritual person. I don't argue with reality because it hurts, right? And in fact, I'll add, I never win that argument, not even once. So I'm arguing it with it just for the sake of arguing. And this is one of my favorite quotes of all time from Pam Grout on the next slide, or the next page. Once you can say, this is the best thing to happen to me about everything that happens in your life, you'll be aligned with the FP, field of potential. You align with the FP by loving everyone, by seeing the face of God in everything, by feeling happy, by being joyful and grateful for everything, no matter what. Instead of letting the apparent reality, because what we see and perceive isn't even the real thing, it's not the truth, it's the apparent reality. Dictate your feelings. You line up with the FP, which knows nothing but love, peace, and perfect contentment. That's from Pam Grout in her book, EQ, which is a really powerful book, by the way, fun book to read and teach. So, I'll go to the next quote. This is, in this picture, when I'm traveling, I sometimes don't put it up because I don't know how people feel about it, but in my hometown I use it a lot because they understand it's a joke. But true non-attachment is realizing, this is from my favorite spiritual teacher, Swami Harbula. True non-attachment is realizing that fundamentally we are attached to everything. We are one. If we're attached to something outside ourselves, that is an affirmation that we're separate. We cannot be at peace and separate at the same time. And what I have found over and over and over in my life is that the more non-attached I am to things in the world of form, the more peace I have inside. The more peace I have inside, the more power I have to create what I want. The more whatever my intentions are happen easily, effortlessly, magically. We've all experienced that when we're in the flow, right? And just things start showing up easily and effortlessly, and then we get challenged by something, and we get into that worry, and then the magic diminishes. So it's a practice. And by the way, you know, that quote from Pam Grout, seeing everything, seeing the face of God in everything, right? Knowing perfect contentment. That's an ideal. We're never as human beings to get to that ideal all the time, 100% of the time. It's all just about practice. And the more non-attachment we have, the more peace we have, the more life just gets easier and easier. I'm going to give a quote from Robert Scheinfeld, in my second favorite book of all time, after The Magic of the Soul, which is called Busting Loose in the Money Game. And he says it this way, that when you get to the place in consciousness where you realize it's no better to have $1 million than it is to owe $1 million, then you'll have the consciousness that can create whatever you want with a snap of your fingers. Now, that's a pretty radical statement, right? No better to have $1 million than to owe $1 million. I'm going to give you another quote. There's a great TED Talk by Dan Gilbert, and he says this. He starts the TED Talk by saying, I'm going to give you a little survey here. How many people here, by a show of hands, would rather, and it's a pretty easy question for most people to answer, would rather win the lottery, let's say $20 million, or become a quadriplegic? How many choose number one? How many choose number two? And so he says you might find it interesting, based on his extensive research, to find out that if you win the lottery, it's very likely that 10 years from now, you'll be no happier than you are now. And we've got all kinds of evidence for that. People who have won the lottery who didn't shift their consciousness and lost it all, right? And you might also be interested to find out that if you were to become a quadriplegic, you'll be no less happy 10 years from now than you are now, which is simply proof that it's always an inside-out game. We tend to think, and even as religious scientists, even knowing this, as human beings, we still tend to think, when I have more money, when I get that better job, when I have a better relationship, when I am healthier, when my body's in perfect health, then I'll be happy. But it doesn't work that way. It's simply consistent. There's a quote from Ernest Holmes that is in the curriculum I use for the Journey of the Soul, which is the curriculum for my book, The Magic of the Soul. A friend of mine in Calgary said recently, because they're teaching the Journey of the Soul up there, let's have Patrick come in and facilitate the class, because it's the only class we have in Science of Mind where the author of the book is still alive and walking around and going to New Jersey. So, and then I thought about it. I think there's one other one. Carolyn Miss, the practical mysticism, which I taught. She's still kicking. So, what else do I want to say here? So it's also important. I had a client once who she was doing a coaching session with me, and she said, "You know, I want to get this house, and I want it to." This brings me a whole other direction that I'm going to go to. So she said, "I want to buy this house," and it was like $1 million house, and this is back in like 2007 when $1 million was worth a lot more. And it was about $300,000 above her budget. And she said, "So I'm practicing being non-attached to getting the house so that I can get the house." And I had to laugh because I do that too, right? I'll be non-attached so that I'll be in a place so I can get what I want. So that's not true attachment. So it's really good to not be attached to being non-attached as well. But the interesting thing is, she didn't get the house. I said it was in 2007, right? What happened in 2008? Had she got the house, she would have been underwater for many, many years. So it ended up being the best thing. So I'm going to tell you something else then from Busting Loose. This is what inspired me to go. The way that Robert Scheinfeld describes how that works, that no better to have $1 million than $1 million. If I'm saying one thing in the world of form is better than another thing, I'm saying that the world of form has power over my inner experience. Okay? Inside out game. And he also says, and this is a connector for the disconnect we sometimes get in our teaching, where we say, my consciousness creates my experience. And we also say, whatever happens is always for us. But then again, something happens we don't like, what do, right? So here's the connector for that. Scheinfeld says, we're not creating our experience, our reality, from the presence, from our thinking, or from the presence of our personal self. We're always creating our reality, what we experience, from the presence of our expanded self, our soul self. You see that connector? So if I don't like something that's happening, it means I'm only seeing it through the limited perspective of my personal self. But anytime I can simply trust and recognize that even in the moment, even if it's something difficult, and I say those words, I know something good will happen to me from this. Or ask, what's the magic in this experience? Or, oftentimes, the way it used to be taught in Science of Mind, and it's not anymore, but it still shows up this way sometimes, is when something we don't like happens, someone says to you, what was the consciousness that created that? And that always makes you feel better instantly, right? I don't think so. The better question to ask than that, which then aligns us with our expanded soul self, is what is the greater freedom, joy, love, any spiritual quality that wants to emerge from this situation? Doesn't that feel better? Lighter, more empowering? And the more we ask that, what's the magic in this situation? What's the greater freedom, joy, love wanting to come from this? The more we create an alignment then between our personal self and our expanded self. And so we may not even, in asking that question, get an answer. I don't know what the greater freedom, love, or joy is, and that this is really hard. But if I can trust that something will evolve from it, then I'm creating that alignment. Then I'm in peace. Now I'm not arguing, not only with reality, but I'm no longer arguing with my higher self that is presenting this experience for me to grow. It's the perfect thing. Oftentimes I'll ask clients who are going through something really challenging, if your soul wanted you to get some specific, to embody some certain spiritual quality, what would be the perfect experience for you to have in your life? And it's that very thing that we're experiencing, right? The opposite of, I said this before, but the opposite of worry is trust. If we simply let go of the worry, step into the trust, life gets better. So let me tell you about the play shop we're doing in the afternoon, shortly after the service. So it's called The Joy Factor, A Life of Infinite Freedom. There's a couple things, I'll give you a quick preview. So the first part of the workshop, I teach you the most important and powerful work that I do with people, which is a practice that can help one shift from a negative mindset to a positive mindset almost instantly. And we measure, there's a system for measuring consciousness. Someone from Delaware CSL sent me an email after I did this with their board of directors and their practitioners and said, this is amazing. I can actually quantify consciousness with this practice, right? And because oftentimes I'll do this practice with ministers or teachers of law of attraction, and they'll say, oh my God, I know these principles backwards and forwards, but I was not aware of where my consciousness was in this thing that's challenging me. Now that I have awareness, I can apply the principles, right? Shift from problem to solution. And then the other thing we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate a practice that may seem like the most impractical thing that you could ever do, and show you how it can be actually the most practical and important thing that you can do for your life, which is wake up in the morning and ask this question, what will bring me the most joy to do today? And then go do that thing, all right? It may sound impractical, but I've got a lot of evidence and experience from my own life where everything turns around, because the most powerful demonstration of self-love we can offer ourselves is to do what brings us joy, right? And as human beings, we tend to do what brings us the most joy. There's some joy out of it, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it, but we forget about the joy for which we are doing it, thinking I have to go to this job I don't like, or I have to raise these teenage kids, or I have to do something. But I wouldn't be doing it if there's some joy. So it's about shifting then, shifting from the should or the have to the understanding of why, the joy for which I'm doing this thing, right? And I tell you, once we start consistently asking what will bring me the most joy, using joy as the compass for our lives, that's another creating alignment between our soul self and our personal self. And life gets easier and easier, and I tell you, way, way more fun. So let's see. I got another quote from the Buddha. You're going to love this one. So the Buddha said, after he went and sat under the Bodhi tree for 40 days, came back and was talking to his disciples, and he said, and it's a funny story. I went and looked this up after I saw this at a bookstore in Calgary when I was speaking up there one time. And I went and looked it up, and I went to this website, and it said, and the heading on it was, picture of the Buddha, and it said, I didn't say that. But I liked it. So it was a whole list of quotes that apparently he never said, or it's never documented. But I believe he said this at some time, at least to one disciple, and that is, when I find, and you can do this with me, there's a little physicality to this, when I finally realize that everything is perfect just the way it is, stretch your arms out and look up. I will throw my head back and laugh at the sky. You feel the freedom in that. I'm going to do a quick little workshop. You're going to love this. From Kathy Ann Lewis. Think about the most challenging. Look down at a 90-degree angle and think about the most challenging thing in your life. Notice how you feel in your body and your emotions. And now look straight ahead. Think about the same challenge. Notice how it feels in your body, your feeling in your heart. And now look up at it at a degree. Think about the same challenge. Notice how it feels in your body, your heart, your mind. What did you notice? Who wants to share? What did you notice about that? Yes?
Healing went from my gut, my heart, and then
Upwards to your soul, perhaps. And that's what I hear over and over in doing that with people is when I look down, I see the problem. When I look straight ahead, I see, oh, there's some solutions out there. When I look up, it's a done deal. I don't have to worry about it. So the moral in that story is look up. And by the way, what occurred to me when I learned this practice is how many more people now are looking down at their devices almost all the time. And how much more rampant since smartphones and social media, how much more depression and anxiety there is with younger people, with everyone, right? These things. There you go. Well, a chiropractor once told me, hold your smartphone here, because it's not good for your posture. Okay, so one more story. Let me say this about the play shop. So if you don't have plans this afternoon, join us, because you will be glad you did. In fact, I will guarantee that you'll be glad you did. In fact, I will guarantee that you'll walk out of the play shop feeling like you're walking on air, because that's what happened, just like Jesus walked across the water in that story. But if you do have plans, change them. If you absolutely can't change them, sign up on our mailing list, and next time we're in the area, we'll let you know. If you're online, get yourself over here. In California, we had a storm where they were saying, "Don't go out of your house." And I went there, and there's a small group, and we did the service, and a whole bunch of people came from home through the storm, and then we had an earthquake during the workshop, and it was fun. So, I want to say.
yeah, don't say that around here.
Yeah, we don't care about earthquakes. We're used to them. But don't send any hurricanes our way. We couldn't handle that. You guys are amazing. I want to tell you, how many saw the movie My Favorite Exotic Marigold Hotel? Great movie, right? So quick summary. So this young Indian guy, and so he was marketing this huge mansion to elderly people in England to come there and retire. And so people get there and they say, you airbrushed this brochure, right? Because the place was completely dilapidated. So people are coming up to him complaining about all the things that are broken in the rooms, everything's broken down. And his famous saying was this: in India, we have a saying that in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not yet all right, it's not yet the end. So a story about my teacher, Vivian King, who taught me spiritual psychology, transpersonal psychology for 4 years. After I graduated, she had moved from California to New Mexico, and she was traveling. I was at a New Year's Eve party, and so somebody came up to me and said, "Did you hear what happened to Vivian?" And I said, "No." They said she was driving through Texas, was hit by a drunk driver, and this connects us back to the Dan Gilbert talk, and became a quadriplegic. So they had moved her to Long Beach, California, about an hour and a half from where I live. Went to visit her. By the way, she was in a coma for 6 weeks. Her head apparently was the size of a basketball in the beginning. So when I got there, her head was normal size, but her face was very contorted. She was brainstem damage, so she could not speak. She couldn't even move her arms or hands. She could communicate. They put a laser pin on her glasses, and she could put it on a keyboard to communicate. Later on, she was able to train to speak in whispers with an amplification. And if you listen to her a lot, you could kind of understand it. So, And in Long Beach, they were deciding where she was going to go for her rehabilitation. And it could have been to Orange County, which was quite a ways away, the opposite direction. Or it could have been San Fernando Valley, where I lived at the time. And they didn't know where I lived. But I said, you know, if she comes to San Fernando Valley, she had friends in Orange County too. But I said I could come and visit her and kind of help out with her physical therapy, whatever. So they didn't know where I lived, but the next week, she ended up 2 blocks from my house. So I got to visit her and be with her. And quick story, she would be eating and using this mechanical arm because she didn't want other people to feed her. So, and she'd be getting food all over her face and her apron, and you might think, wow, and I would feel embarrassed if that was the place. She would be smiling, laughing the whole time because she saw the cosmic joke in it. She taught us in spiritual psychology, I am more than my body, more than my feelings, more than my mind. And she was living that understanding. And when she came to near the end of her life, this was about 54 years old, she ended up passing away. She's a brilliant writer, had many books. She said, Patrick, I am a teacher who can no longer speak. I'm a writer who can no longer write. But as long as I have a physical body, I can remain a presence of peace and love in this world. Feel the power in that? So when I have some little thing come up, like somebody backed into our rental car yesterday, I will often think about Vivian, and if she could remain a presence of peace and love in a body, she said to me, that can no longer dance. I think I can do that when somebody backs up into our car, right? Maybe not in the first moment, but after a couple seconds. So the most important thing I want to leave you with, in our teaching, any teaching, I feel, is self-love. Yes? So this phrasing came to me not long ago, is that when I love myself unconditionally, what I realize is I am not myself. I am in fact the self. I am in fact pure love. And so are you. So are you people online. So are we all. And so it is. And so it is. All right, thank you so much. Let's do a little prayer. So close your eyes, take a deep healing breath. Let's do a little visualization. Just knowing that there's one spirit, the spirit works through me, and that the spirit is always not attached. The spirit always knows that everything that's happening is happening perfectly for me and for everything that's happening everywhere in the world, in the universe. And so as I come in alignment with the universal presence, I know that I can just let go and trust. And so just visualize yourself moving forward in your life, giving up resistance to what happens as a practice. You don't have to get it right or perfect all the time. But notice what it feels like as you move through this next week. Trusting that everything that happens is fun. Looking for the magic in every experience. What's the greater freedom, joy, and love that wants to emerge from this? How will your life be a month from now? Improving your ability to do this. Let's say even mastering this to a degree. How will it look a year from now, having lived in a higher level of non-resistance, non-attachment, deeper peace, greater power? How will it be 5 years from now? Take another deep breath. Integrating this as though the 5-year moment is happening right now. And you've already mastered it. This is who we are. This is who we've come to be. I know that this word he's spoken is already manifest in reality and truth, in mind, in feeling, and energy. It's showing up in the world form as a mere formality. So all that's left to do is to be in gratitude and to celebrate. And together we say, and so it is. Aho.
One thing Patrick didn't mention is that the workshop later is being done for a love offering. And it struck me, why do people do that? Why not have a fee attached to it? Why do they do it for a love offering? And he just explained it to you. Because the person presenting it when they do that is so confident in what you're going to walk away with that there's no reason not to. And absolutely true. You will walk away with an awful lot. So thank you again, Patrick. I appreciate it. Very inspiring talk. I learned a bunch of things, not the least of which was apparently how much Yogi Berra and Buddha had in common. Because it was Yogi who said, "I never said most of what I said," which apparently he stole from Buddha, which I don't blame him. You know, he was the Buddha of baseball, so that's a good one. Next week we're going to be here. We'll be on Zoom only. Reverend Joel will be joining us on Zoom, so join us for that. He is also always wonderful to hear. This Sunday, by the way, in person is being sponsored by Edna Davey. Thank you very much, Edna, for sponsoring. We really do appreciate it. We got some great stuff coming up. As a matter of fact, we have, where did I put it? The Shed the Light concert, which is down in Paoli, Pennsylvania. That's Ray Atkins and Ty who are doing that. It's a concert building bridges to unity and diversity. It's a peace concert. It's not that far of a drive. It's a couple of hours. You'll be glad you went because these are our friends. These are the guys out there stepping out and really supporting a great cause down there. So these are available in the back. We also have, it's open now, registration, the New Thought Gathering. Again, if you don't know what this is and you're in the area, you'll see it posted online. You'll see it posted on our website. This is the second annual New Thought Gathering. Last year we brought together, 6 different New Thought communities, Unity, CSL, from all over North Jersey, Rockland County, New York. It's a party. Just say hello and share. Invite your friends. Invite people that don't know what New Thought is. Invite people that say, "What's that cult you go to? Who are those weird people you're hanging with?" Let them come out and find out that, yeah, they're weird, but they're really okay, it's good. There's a lab we're holding it at Unity of Sussex County, which most of you probably are aware of, and they have a wonderful labyrinth up there to walk. So it's going to be, again, another great time. Registration is open now. Please sign up now so that we can tell the caterer and everybody else what's going on, what's happening, how much food to bring. So we do have coming up Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. We'll be doing those 6 episodes in the fall. The She Speaks Women's Gathering is taking a break for the summer. So if you were looking to join in on that, it will start again, hosted by Nettie Bonner. That will be in the fall. So all of those. And I held it off till the end. And that is our conscious giving affirmation. This is really where we show our support and love for this community. And you hear me say it all the time, how grateful we are. All right? And it is. We're here going on 23 years because of all the wonderful volunteering, giving, participating, people who provide hospitality, people that help clean up, set up chairs. And yes, the financial is important. And right now it may be more important than ever. We're facing ongoing financial challenges. Excuse me, the leadership is working to find ways to increase what comes in so that we can still be here. Everything goes up. The rent went up here, not much, still only $150, not $125, but we want to be here ongoing. So if you have someone, invite them in. Let them know. As we build membership, we do two things. We help them. We really help them improve their lives. We give them the gifts that we've received. We're giving back, which is a beautiful service to be in. But we also support this community and its ongoingness to deliver this incredibly wonderful teaching and message. So please, now if you will, repeat after me our conscious giving, not repeat after me, read it along with me. The conscious giving affirmation. I bless this gift that I give today. I give this gift from my heart, and I give it mindfully. May my gift go further to heal, prosper, and bless this center and all who enter. I accept all good that comes as a result of this flow, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. There is a bowl in the back of the room and some envelopes if you'd like to leave your gift here today. You can also give online, you can text. There's numerous ways. We'll make it as convenient as we can for you. If you have any questions, you have any difficulties, my phone number is on here. Give me a call. Very, very happy to help anybody who needs any question answered about anything. Even if it's a complaint, call me up and say, hey, I don't like when you do that. Following up with that, you're about to receive letters in the mail. We're 6 months through the year. These are pledge updates. If you haven't pledged, and since COVID, that's gotten a little bit lax, please fill out a pledge form. Reach out to CSL North Jersey at Gmail, and we will get you the pledge form. This update is for two things. One, give you an update on where you stand financially so you can do your financial planning. And it lets us know where we stand. All right, so those letters will be coming out next week, Jenny? Yes. So you'll get those by email. If you have filled out a pledge form, you don't get an update, give me a call, send an email. Happy to make sure that that happens. That's not a big problem whatsoever. And there was one other thing. What was it, Neil? Oh, another thing is going to happen soon too. Whose center is this? Right. And your answer should be my center too. It's for you. And that's what's important. And we need to know. We've been saying now since February, the beginning of February, that we're in transition. And we need to adjust. We need to shift from where we were before. There's a lot of empty seats here. We want to know why they're empty. That the message isn't getting out. Now, I'm doing a lot of work with some people involved in CSL. And if you've heard me say, I have meetings with ministers from all different parts of the country once a month to try and figure that out. But for our community, we want to know what you think. So also coming up, you're going to get a phone call. You're going to get a phone call from either leadership council members or from another very committed members of the community that are going to ask you questions. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you like to see? What wouldn't you like to see? What do you like when we do it? What don't you like when we do it? Give us your thoughts. It can be anonymous. That's fine. And then also, to help build that even further, we're going to hold little gatherings here after service, just small groups to say, okay, I got an idea, Maybe we should serve fried scorpions, right, Joe? After in hospitality, and Ed would love that, So, whatever it is, if we sit in these small groups, one thing I know, especially from these meetings with the ministers, one idea sparks another idea, right? And Anita may have 1%. And somebody else 1%, somebody else 1%, somebody else 1%. And we put it all together and new ideas are formed. And that's how we grow, that's how we develop into what we want to be. So, thank you all for being here. I don't think I have to beg, but we can get Patrick up here for one more song, don't you think? All right. Thanks, buddy.
Some more love for this guy and all of you. Thank you so much.